indicated rotation. We're watching that area again around White Oak and Hillendale. This is close to the area where we had that first tornado warning. And with that system, a ton of heavy rain fell across parts of Howard County, leading to that flash flood warning. So now, in addition to the rotation, heavy rain is a big threat. You really want to make sure that you are finding your safe place if you live in this area. So that includes Laurel, North Laurel, South Laurel, Burtonsville, Fairland, Amandale, and some areas into Montgomery County. You want to make sure that you're immediately finding that safe place. So that needs to be a place that is away from any windows. That could be an interior room, such as a basement or such as a closet or even a bathroom. The goal is to place as many windows between you and the outside as possible. And we're taking a look on the roads. I-95 at, I think that says 216, Maryland 216. A lot of drivers have their hazard lights on because they're likely being impacted by that heavy rain that's falling across the area. That's been a big concern, the heavy rain leading to flooding. So in addition to that rotation, gusty winds possible, along with the potential of some hail. You really want to make sure that you are driving safely and taking, if you have to be on the roads, but if you're not on the roads, if you are in a home, you want to make sure that you are finding that shelter immediately. We could have hail with this, along with damaging wind gust for areas with that tornado warning. Hail 3/4 of an inch is possible. So we've been seeing a ton of heavy rain, lightning with these storms, and they're going to continue to impact the Baltimore Metro over the next several hours. Now, I want to zoom out because one of the good things is that this is kind of the final edge of that storm system we've been tracking. So once we get through this, we'll get a little bit of a break from the rain and storms. But this warning goes through 9:15 p.m. And again, it includes Anne Arundel County, along with Howard County and part of Montgomery County. Zooming into some of those areas included Laurel, Fort Meade Road under that, South Laurel, Fulton, Burtonsville, North Laurel Park. You are all under this warning as we track some radar indicated rotation. So we've been keeping close watch on this area, trying to see if we've had any new information with this. So it looks pretty good, the rotation, and that's why we have that warning. So it's going to move into the area over the next 25-30 minutes or so. This warning goes through 9:15, so for about 20 more minutes. And again, just with the last set of tornado warnings, we will guide you through this and make sure that you are staying safe. But breaking down the timing on when we'll see some of those storms, again, it's looking like within the next 30 minutes if you are in this red box. But even if you aren't, heavy rain has been a big concern, along with wind damage. There have been some reports of wind damage, and it's really not going to take a lot to lead to damage. Remember, just over the past few days, we've had quite a bit of rain. So when we talk about the saturated grounds, the waterlogged trees, plus more heavy rain and gusty winds, it's very easy for some downed tree limbs or even downed trees to happen across the region. Now, this is going to be the trend as we track these storms continuing to move over the state. But I want to take a larger look at things so you can see kind of where we are watching. We've got that tornado warning in place for Montgomery County into Anne Arundel County and Howard County. Second warning in place for Calvert County. It's been a very active night as we've been tracking these showers and storms. The blinking box that you see for that blinking black and green is for a flash flood warning. So part of the area that is under the tornado warning has already been hit by heavy rain. Flooding is imminent in part of Howard County. So you want to make sure that if you're in an area that has flooded, your best bet is to find an interior room, and not necessarily a basement, but an interior room such as a closet or a bathroom, a room with no windows. Try to put as many walls between you and outside as possible as we track that potential rotation. And showing you that again, we're watching the spot just south of Fairland as it continues to move toward the northeast. That's been the track of these storms over the past few hours. But over the next 18 minutes or so, we'll keep you guided on the storm system that we're watching, this tornado warning, as it continues to approach parts of Anne Arundel and Howard County. So currently, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Howard, and Anne Arundel County, all under the threat of potential rotation that we could be seeing with this storm. Let's see if we have any, not too much in terms of debris being picked up, but still, regardless of where you are, if you are in this polygon, you may even be in Laurel where the rain's on the moderate side, still take this seriously and find that safe place and stay there through the entirety of this warning. That's for another 18 minutes or so. We are keeping watch on some heavy rain that's also going to move into Howard County, a spot that's been hit by heavy rain over the past couple hours. And just to kind of give you a radar estimate of how much rain we've seen, because that has been a very big threat and it has led to flooding, around 2.5 inches in parts of Howard County. That seems to be the range, 2 to 2.5 inches. Now back to that warning again, we are keeping watch on some rotation. It looks like that warning was just trimmed back slightly, so you'll notice that it no longer includes White Oak, where we saw that rotation initially, but it still does include parts of PG, Montgomery, Howard, and Anne Arundel counties. This goes through 9:15. Make sure that you are finding that safe place and staying there until this warning expires. Even if you're not in an area with a tornado warning, it's likely that you are going to be impacted by heavy rain, and that could lead to flooding. Be sure that if you have to be on the roads, that you are driving safely. Taking a look at I-95 north, lots of cars with their hazard lights on, lots of slow drivers, and it's likely because of that heavy rain. Now it's starting to get dark, and the issue with the heavy rain and the darkness is that there is going to be some ponding that you may not even notice, and there may be some flooded roads. You don't want to drive through the flooded roads because it's so dark outside and you're not going to be able to gauge just how deep the water is. And then that one, US 29 South, you can barely see much just because of all of the rain falling. So be sure that you are taking these warnings seriously and finding that safe place while we still have these warnings in place. This goes through 9:15. We're now watching this bright red area that you see just to the north of Amandale and to the east of Fairland. Right around where we've got that blinking box, that's where we're looking for some potential rotation where we may be seeing that. It's radar indicated at this point, but we expect that to continue to move to the northeast, and that's why we have that tornado warning in place for parts of Howard and Anne Arundel counties. Make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts that may be issued, because once this warning does expire, we still have the threat of more tornado warnings. Our watch it's in effect through midnight. Not only that, but we've seen flash flooding with these storms. That is another possibility. You really want to make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts issued. But in the meantime, the tornado warning will include Prince George's County, Anne Arundel, and even Howard County, Montgomery County, 4 different counties under this warning, and it's for that area of rotation that we see right around Calverton and right around the edge of that blinking green and black box. So all of the spots within this tornado warning, you want to find your safe place immediately. Burtonsville, Fairland, Amandale, South Laurel, Fox Rest, Laurel, you are all in that polygon, and it's very important that you do, again, take that warning very safely. This has been the second severe weather event over the past couple weeks, and we saw all of the damage that the first storm system did. You can expect damage with this. We're talking gusty winds in addition to the heavy rain, and of course we've been seeing some rotation, radar indicated. We'll keep watching on these storms as they keep on moving across the region. But going back to the reflectivity, so you can see that heavy rain that we've been tracking, this will move toward the northeast, this area right around Ashton. It's heading to Columbia, Ellicott City, Catonsville, Randallstown, Woodlawn, all within the next 25 minutes. You're going to be dealing with this heavy rain. And with this line, we've already seen some rotation. It cannot be ruled out as the storms roll to the northeast. They're moving at about 38 miles per hour. So back to the red box where we have that tornado warning, that's for about another 13 minutes. Of course, we will keep you updated and guided on all of the storms that pass over the area, and we'll guide you through this warning while it is in place. But the heavy rain that we're seeing right around Burtonsville, and down toward Fairland. The rotation that we're seeing, we're sort of watching that brighter red area just south of Burtonsville for some potential rotation. Here's a better view of things. You can see that red that we have. We're watching that red area within that flashing green and black box. So just to the south of Burtonsville, where we have that red and green together, that indicates some rotation. The green represents what's moving toward the radar. The red shows us what's moving away. And when we have the red and green together, that's a good indication that we're seeing some radar. So that's the spot that we are currently tracking. Make sure, again, that you are staying safe as we continue to monitor these showers and storms. But again, looking at that rotation, we're currently seeing that into parts of Howard County, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery, and Prince George's County, all under that warning that goes through 9:15 p.m. Be sure that you are finding that safe place and staying in that safe place through the entirety of this warning. That is for another 12 more minutes. If you are in that flash flood and if flooding has occurred at your home, the basement's not going to be the best place to go in this case. You will want to find an interior room, so that may be a bathroom or a closet. You want to put as many walls between you and outside as possible. So be sure that you're finding that safe place that you can go while we wait out this tornado warning and while we watch for that rotation to kind of break apart. But in the meantime, we are keeping watch on that area in red and that green, just near Burtonsville, or right around Mayfair. That's where we're seeing some potential radar indicated rotation. This system has really been a beast of a system. According to the National Weather Service, there have been 15 tornado warnings, and it looks like we've got a second one now in place, and that's mainly for parts of the eastern shore. But just to show you how strong these showers and the storm system has been, it's led to several tornado warnings, so possibly 16 at this point that have been issued from this severe weather system. Make sure that you are staying up to date and that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts issued. Even if you're not under a tornado warning, the heavy rain could impact you. Remember that just a few days ago, over the past few days, we've had a ton of rain. That's created saturated grounds. That means it's not going to take that much rain for flooding to occur. But some of these spots, especially where you have that blinking green and black polygon, those spots have already had heavy rain. So this is something that we are really keeping watch on, not just here, but around other parts of the state. That heavy rain could quickly lead to flooding. So flash flooding, a big concern into the night. The flood watch goes into place into early tomorrow morning. Now, this flash flood warning goes through about 11 p.m. And for Baltimore City, it goes through 11:15 p.m. Make sure that you are staying safe, especially if you live in an area within this tornado warning and within those flash flood warnings. Those continue over the next few hours. The tornado watch goes through midnight, the flood watch into early tomorrow morning. Now, tracking this rotation, you'll see where it's moving now. So right around Cherrywood, just to the west of Laurel. We're watching that area with the red very closely tied to the green. That's the potential rotation that we're seeing on the radar. The green indicates objects moving toward the radar, while the red indicates objects moving away. And that gives us a good idea that there may be some rotation. So currently we are watching that area. It looks like some of that rotation is becoming a little bit looser, which is a good sign. But over the next 9 minutes, while we track this tornado warning, we will continue to keep you updated. Here's a better look at where we're seeing that heavy rain. So right around Burtonsville and down toward Hillsborough, Carriage Hill, starting to see some of that heavy rain move in. This will keep tracking toward the northeast over the next few hours. All types of severe weather are possible. So we've had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, wind gust up to 60 miles per hour. Another threat that we now have in place is a wind advisory that goes into effect around midnight and it lasts into early Sunday morning. So an additional threat to keep in mind are those damaging wind gusts that will be possible throughout the day tomorrow. Taking a look on the roads, I believe that's our storm tracker. It's very rainy. It looks like we just saw a little bit of lightning there. So
Jasmine,
that's the Laurel area.
I wanted to talk too. I know you're mentioning the storm tracker out here. If you look, can you see this picture? We pulled it up on the smart board. I-95 at northbound at the Welcome Center. 95 northbound is on, I guess it's on the right side, and southbound's on the left. I believe that's correct. But yeah, because we're looking north-northeast. So this is probably Prince George's going into Howard County. But still, look at the heavy flow of traffic.
Yeah.
Remember, we saw this earlier when you and I were back out here for the 7 to like 8:15 hour. It was pretty heavy, and it hasn't really let up. And I'm wondering if during a bit of that lull, more people decided, hey, I've got a bit of a break. I'm going to try and get on the road and get home now. But they are not quite out of jeopardy yet, right?
No, not yet. We still are tracking that heavy rain. Now, you will notice that behind these storms, we are seeing a little bit of a dry out. Damascus, Gaithersburg, Potomac, not much rain there. So this edge of storms, once it moves out, I think it looks a lot better if you do have to drive. But again, if you're driving toward the northeast, that's where the storms are heading. So that's where you can expect that heavy rain. But locally, as this system starts to move out, we'll get a brief break. Early tomorrow morning, a few showers and storms are possible. So it's really not until Sunday when we finally have a dry forecast. But in the meantime, make sure you're finding that safe place if you live in this red polygon, including Anne Arundel County, Howard County, Montgomery County, and even Prince George's County. This tornado warning over 4 different counties right now, and it's for some potential radar indicated rotation that we're seeing. So going back to our storm relative velocity, it's not that tight, not as tight as what we saw with some of the earlier storms, and that's a good sign. It means that this will likely expire by 9:15, but still the threat is there for more tornado warnings across parts of our area. Heavy rain remains a great threat because it could lead to flash flooding. We've already seen that in parts of Howard County where that flash flood warning is in place, and also in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, where we have that blinking polygon that is for that flash flood warning. So we're keeping close watch on this tornado warning until it expires. That's in about 6 more minutes. Zooming out a little bit to see what else we're seeing around the state. Keeping close watch on a few areas. It looks like that tornado warning is still in place for Queen Anne's. That goes until 9:30. And so that's another area dealing with some of that heavy rain as well. It's moving toward Chestertown, so that'll happen in about 11 more minutes when that storm's going to move there. But in the meantime, regardless of where you live, be sure that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts that are issued. Our tornado watch goes through midnight. The flash or the flood watch goes until early tomorrow morning. So through this time, there is the potential that these threats will continue. All types of severe weather possible through about midnight. That includes hail, damaging wind gust up to 60 miles per hour, potentially heavy rain, which could lead to flooding. And of course, isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out. And we've already had over a dozen tornado warnings issued across the region. So
just a second ago, and we can go back to the storm tracker just now, but our photojournalist was out on 295. We just passed the 295X, well, the split 295 going on down into the D.C. area, but if you split off to 195, this is Howard County, but that other one was showing you what the rain is like. That went to BWI Airport. This is Carlos on the road right now in Howard County. I don't know exactly where in Howard County, Skaggsville in Howard County. So that's all around 216, and you mentioned 216 earlier. 216 is one of the exits right off of I-95 South.
And some good news coming in. This tornado warning is expiring, so we should see this clear out in just a moment. But the heavy rain remains a big threat. If you have to drive on the roads, I would say after about 10 p.m., it's looking a little bit better. We'll get a break from that rain. But early tomorrow morning, possibly around 2, 3, still we have that potential for some showers, possibly a few storms at times. And you'll notice that yellow box just disappeared across part of the HD radar. That's a good sign that the severe threat is moving to the east. So we had that tornado watch that included Frederick and parts of Montgomery and Prince George's County, that's been canceled. As these storms continue to move toward the northeast, it's likely that our tornado watch will also get canceled. Make sure, though, that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts issued through that time. Midnight is when this is set to expire. However, if it is canceled earlier, we'll keep watch on that. So the tornado watch does continue for our area. The warning should be canceled in any minute now. But still keeping watch on a couple areas of heavy rain, some heavy rain over Annapolis. We've got that very odd-shaped polygon, that tornado warning that includes parts of Queen Anne's County and also into Kent. So another area that's been dealing with the strong showers and storms and the severe weather. So for that part, that system is moving to the east-northeast around 22 miles per hour. Chestertown, you're in the path of that heavy rain. Within the next 25 minutes or so, you're going to be experiencing that heavy rain. Meanwhile, with all of this, there is the possibility of more areas of flooding, especially flood-prone, low-lying areas. Grounds are saturated from the rain we just received over the past few days, so it's not going to take much to lead to flooding. With trees already being in wet soil and the combination of damaging winds, there's also the threat of some downed trees. So we're going to keep close watch on these storms and also on the gusty winds that we have coming tomorrow. We have a wind advisory in place that goes into effect at midnight and it runs into early Saturday morning. Heavy rain's been a big threat, so just to kind of show you over the past 3 hours, that's really around the time when we started to see rain move in, giving you an update on some of those rain totals. Close to 3 inches in 3 hours. So that's a considerable amount of rain there, right around North Laurel, just under 2.5 inches. So certainly some high totals. That's why we have those flash flood warnings in place. But meanwhile, the tornado warning going through 9:15 p.m. We will see it canceled by that point. So not seeing too much in terms of rotation with this. That is good news, but still heavy rain remains a great threat as these systems continue to move over the region. Heavy rain continues from, looks like about Westminster down into southern Maryland, Lexington Park. As those storms travel to the northeast, that severe threat is going to end for us. So in the next couple hours, we'll see the severe threat significantly decline, and any minute now this tornado warning should disappear. It should be expiring, but still there is the threat of more tornado warnings possible, and it looks like it just expired, so that has now cleared out. Flash flooding remains an issue. That those warnings go through about 11 to 11:15 for Howard County and into Baltimore County and Baltimore City. Make sure that you are staying safe as we track that heavy rain and these storms that are moving over us. I think we just heard a little bit of lightning here.
I'd hear it right now, Jasmine. So again, thank you. Wonderful job. Jasmine and I will be back, of course, as soon as this game ends. And by the way, the game looked like it was kind of tenuous for a while because the game is down in D.C., the UFL game. And it is a deluge down there. But Fox 45 News will be up as soon as that game is over. But again, continue to watch. Use our Fox 45 News app and go online and on air, of course, for any updates. We'll be back as soon as the game ends. Thanks, everybody.